What can make America great? Many Americans take pride in what we do to help the rest of the world. That can mean fighting for freedom. July 4th, always a time to celebrate our soldiers and veterans. Sometimes it means honoring humanitarian work, which is the spotlight for today's Normal or Not. The United States spends over $40 billion a year in foreign assistance, money that literally feeds children and can save lives. Right now, one of the most urgent challenges is a famine unfolding for 14 million people. The UN says this could pose, get this, the worst humanitarian crisis since World War II. Now, if you don't know what country I'm talking about, maybe that is because we in the American press don't cover it very much. But the epicenter is Yemen, ravaged by civil war for 2 years, a war that's intensified problems with famine and cholera, which has killed 1,500 people, half of them children. Over 10,000 have also died in this fighting. Well, Saudi Arabia has picked sides in the civil war. They recently scored a $110 billion arms deal with the Trump administration. While the weapons trade is counted in many, many billions, humanitarian aid is smaller. The U.S. just added $94 million for Yemen in April, and that brings total aid to the nation to about $526 million. Critics say President Trump's priorities show a disregard for deploying U.S. power that could help this humanitarian crisis. Take Democratic Senator Chris Coons. He recently said this undermines our credibility as a global leader when President Trump pushes a budget that slashes our contributions to the UN, refugee relief, to humanitarian assistance. While the problems in the Yemeni civil war are certainly complex, the Saudis' role is not. They have attacked crowded cities and civilian areas. Their stranglehold over shipping routes have led to what one refugee expert called a man-made and avoidable famine. And the Saudis are backing a coalition that is committing what Amnesty International calls war crimes and conduct that fuels serious human rights violations. Unfortunately, it is normal for the U.S. to look the other way while Saudi Arabia takes all kinds of horrific actions. The country's oil and strategic assets have led administrations in both parties to give them a pass on everything from terror funding to women's rights to all those war crimes alleged by Amnesty. It is normal, and it's hard to reconcile with America's founding values. But it also may be getting worse. Look at this. The New York Times reporting that while the U.S. also stood by during Saudi's actions in Yemen during the Obama administration, there were, at the time, efforts to limit its access to weapons that could make it worse. Obama officials blocked the Saudis from access to precise munitions weapons, noting they were problematic because possible Saudi war crimes in which America could be implicated. That Trump administration new arms deal I mentioned, well, it now includes those weapons. Time will tell if the U.S. is further implicated in a famine or war crimes in Yemen. Now, next up, we're going to do some journalistic introspection.